Hello, everybody. This is a common question that I've been receiving, and that question is, what hotkeys do I use and why, and all that kind of stuff. So this whole video is going to be dedicated to talk to you guys about my hotkey setup, the strengths and weaknesses, the thing that I think are specific to me, and a lot of it that I want to stress is I believe hotkeys are almost like a DNA fingerprint. Like I think everyone's going to have their own unique things that they want to do and things that feel better for them that feel worse for others. And please be more concerned about the whys I do with my hotkeys rather than the specific hotkeys themselves. But you're obviously welcome to copy the hotkeys as well.
Banana slam jam.
So first and foremost, I think unit-specific hotkeys as well as quick cast is really important. You can go to advanced options and, you go to hotkeys, advanced hotkeys, and enable advanced quick cast / autocast hotkeys. I think this is really important if you're taking Dota very seriously. I think having the ability to customize your hotkeys for any given hero is very important. An example that I would use is that any abilities that require stop canceling, I think it's much easier to use ones that are on E than it is ones on W, because your finger that it pushes S is your ring finger, and so it's really hard to stop cancel things on W because it's the same finger. So like I put Slardar's Crush on E rather than W. That's just one small example. So something to think about there. That's a small example of what I mean by like a customizable hotkey that I did to adjust to limitations on the keyboard. But that's why I think this setting is really important. I personally have no hotkey for this. If you're an Invoker player, that's obviously not going to work, but pretty much every other hero in the game, there's something you can do about that. For my items, I have 2 mouse hotkeys. I really like the mouse hotkeys for things like treads, armlet, bottle, anything that's like consistently usable. This one's usually that item, while this one's usually like a Manta, Hurricane Pike, these like semi-low cooldown items. For spacebar, I specifically put my BKB, refresher orbs, these type of items in this slot. Items where I don't really want to misclick them. It's pretty hard to misclick your spacebar. That's my idea behind it. I usually have one hotkey group. Like the idea of this hotkey is all the buttons I don't want to like fat finger, but I also want to specifically, I like to compartmentalize my hotkeys. Like that hotkey is in its own little universe, and it's for items like very specific items. So on this specific hotkey, I use 2 hotkeys, and I know this looks really weird, so just to explain this, but I don't want you to do this necessarily. I've never used Alt in my life, the actual Alt button. So if you're like me, where it feels really awkward to use Alt, then the option you should go to immediately is Alt modifier, which means that any hotkey like Alt D, Alt X, Alt C is actually me pushing F rather than Alt. So I specifically use F. Feels really nice for me. That's also why I don't have a 5th hotkey on my heroes, because that's where F usually is. But that feels really nice for me. And all of these abilities that I have, I want to be able to Alt self-cast them. So what that means is smart double tapping, which is holding down Alt when pressing an ability or item will trigger a double tap if possible. So for all my items, I have the ability to target opponents as well as myself based on 2 different ways of using it. So if you have the smart double tap on, it works for all quick cast. It works for all abilities like Legion Commander, where I use Alt W or FW to press the attack on herself without having to mouse over my actual hero. And the reason why I have 2 hotkeys for this specific item is because you can't push F and T at the same time. They're the same finger. So any item that's like strictly targetable on opponents, I always put on the G hotkey, because that's also the same as T. But items I put here are items that I compartmentalize. Z is when I use it on myself, and T is when I use it on opponents. I know that sounds really weird, but it works really well for me. Items like this are, or I use it on myself or allies or opponents, meaning I can either use it on myself or other heroes. So items that I put in this slot are like Hurricane Pike, Lotus Orb, Yule Scepters, Lincoln Spheres. If I don't have any of those types of items, I'm perfectly happy to just put a targetable item here. But this is where my first targetable item goes all the time. The diffusals, the abyssals, the any items like that is where nullifiers is where I put here. And then my B hotkey is usually reserved for blink. I do recommend putting blink on quick cast if you can get used to it. I used blink without quick cast for literally like 5 years, so I've just elected to not get used to that at this point. It's now been 8 years. I do recommend having your blink hotkey be on quick cast. I think it's better if you can get used to it, but I choose not to. If I'm ever respawning and you're a person like me that has your blink off of quick cast and I'm respawning with Aegis, I'll quickly swap my blink to my quick cast hotkey and just be spamming it when I'm reviving. It's something you can do to make up for your own shortcomings, like I do. So my neutral item is on quick cast. The only item that this backfires on that I've noticed is force boots and bullwhip. It's kind of annoying to do this where I'm like trying to target myself because I'm like using a mouse button, but or I have it as an alt hotkey, so I can't target myself, which is a bit annoying. But you get used to it. So that's what I use for that one. And then I use X for TPing. Just really any hotkey. I don't want TPs on quick cast because I want to be able to double tap them. I know I could Alt X, but I actually have a hotkey for Alt X. So it's like, notice how I'm kind of like overlapping certain hotkeys. Like I never need to Alt X to TP. Also, if I have this on quick cast and I accidentally click X, I'll just TP somewhere. But if I have it on normal cast, I can X and then, cancel the command. So that's this whole top area. If people are wondering what I mean by heroes with like 6th abilities, what you can do about them, every hero with a 6th ability, except for Invoker, as far as I know, has a passive. So like on Monkey King, his passive just isn't hotkeyed, and I use D for this. I can just manually click to level his Jingu, not a big deal. Same thing with Spectre when she gets her thing, when she gets her Acceptor. So notice how I just have no Desolate hotkey. Yeah, it's just similar things like that. When it comes to which abilities I quick cast, the only exception to quick casting abilities is abilities that have AoEs, like specific AoEs that I want to make sure I don't miss. So examples of this are like Bloodthirite on Bloodseeker is on normal cast because I want to be able to see what area I'm targeting. Sleight of Fist, Faceless Void Chronosphere, Ricky Cloud, stuff like that, right? Stuff with specific AoEs, Monkey King Ultimate. The biggest thing I want to say is right now, at least for now, there's a current bug in Dota where if half of your keys are quick casted and the other half are, and any of your abilities are on normal cast, there's like this random bug where your quick casted hotkeys sometimes will just not be working. Like it'll literally just have no hotkey. So if you're doing this for the first time and you see your abilities suddenly not hotkeyed, that is what's happening. It's a super annoying bug that randomly occurs as far as I know. And it's something that I try to monitor if I ever play a hero that I know that I have one ability on normal cast. Super annoying. Okay. So my number keys are all micro hotkeys, or like unit selecting hotkeys, not micro, but unit selecting. So 1 is my hero, 2 is my courier, 3 is select all other units here, and 4 is select all controlled units. So if I'm pretty much looking to control any version of my hero or units or courier, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's like I've compartmentalized that to the top. If I'm looking to micro summons or illusions, my control groups are V, C, and I don't know why 5 got D hotkey actually. Oh, it's over here. So V, C, and 5 are the hotkey groups I use. V is usually my first one. So if there's a hero that's pretty much only using Manta, I will use V for that. For specific like special units, like Necrobook 3 on Lycan, the Tanky Illusion on PL, the Healing Ward on Jug, stuff like that. That's very specific. I put that on C. Those are the type of hotkeys that get put onto C. So like all the unique abilities to heroes, I get used to putting it on C. And then 5 is like illusion runes, or if I get a Helm Dom or something like that. And then usually select all other units or select all units covers everything else in combination with box selecting, which I talked about. Just to show you real quick what I mean by box selecting, because people don't seem to understand that. If I'm a hero like PL that has a bunch of units, and I have like Manta Illusions that are attacking here, level max. So I have like Manta Illusions that are up here, and I don't want them to stop attacking this, and I have a bunch of stuff right here. I have to box select, because I can't select like all other units because that selects them. I can't like I don't have a specific hotkey for these two illusions. So in these type of situations, box selecting comes in handy. So box selecting is something to get really used to if you have any heroes you're doing with control groups. I have a courier delivers items, but I also have courier hotkeyed with specific things. So for me, these are the way it used to be. If you're like an old Dota player, it used to be like this was here in terms of placement. So like all my shit's kind of jank because of the way they like reordered this shit randomly like 2 years ago. But you can just see them here. I changed this from F, obviously, for the same reasons that I did on all the other stuff for the alt. So you see these. Everything's just reordered a bit, but still the same. Just whatever reason they changed that 2 years ago. Really important hotkeys that people often don't have is scoreboard. Alt-Z is what I use. My bottom hotkeys are all the stuff that I want to interact with on the user face, or like on the HUD. So scoreboard is Alt-Z. Notice how scan and glyph are Alt-C and Alt-X, so that's all down there. That's the whole idea behind everything I'm doing, is just compartmentalizing on the keyboard. All of my movement stuff is A for attack, S for not attacking, directional move Alt-A, move, which is like a follow command, Alt-S, directional move. I talked about it in my Slark guide a bit, but what directional move does is that it ignores terrain. So like say there's an axe like right here, and I want to pounce him, but I'm down here. Instead of having to like specifically click perfectly right here, I can just Alt-A. Now I'm facing him. Notice how my hero wants to do this no matter what. Then I just bounce. Something that's really important on SF, Mirana, Slark, any hero with directional based abilities, just Alt-A and you run straight at him. Boom. So an interesting thing about these heroes, all the ones that I use Alt-A on, notice how it says Alt-W on my skills? What I noticed is if I'm holding Alt-A and I try to pounce, it won't pounce because I'm pushing Alt-W rather than W. So all of my heroes that I use directional move on, I have their normal hotkey, which is QWER, but also all of their abilities are Alt everything, because otherwise I fuck up the directional move with it. So that's something I do as an adjustment, just something to, you know, take note of. And then a lot of this, by the way, is just trial and error in realizing like, oh shit, I can't use directional move on heroes if I'm going to put Alt as my directional move. So I needed to put Alt on all the hotkeys. So it's like creative fixes to anything. I personally don't use camera grip all that much, but I do have a hotkey for it. Big hotkeys are the purchase quick buy. I think mouse wheel down and mouse wheel up are perfect hotkeys for purchasing things. It makes it pretty quick. There's not much else to do with those hotkeys as far as I know. So I use mouse wheel down for purchasing quick buy and mouse wheel up for purchasing sticky. So this is TPs. This is all the items I have queued up. I don't really use these. For move, I already talked about that. Talked about this. Toggle auto attack is on heroes where I don't want them to be on auto attack during the lane. Something like pretty much any summons hero. I don't like auto attacking on lane in general. But during the mid game, if I want to send my summons at lanes without manually clicking them to attack, then I will have the toggle auto attack. That's what it's for. I use it on like Naga, Lycan, Terrorblade, stuff like that. Any hero that sends away from their illusions, I'd like to be able to toggle this during the game. Open shop is F plus D or Alt plus D. And that's really it for my main hotkeys. We'll talk about options real quick. I use standard. I think it's really bad to use always for all the reasons I just mentioned. Double tap self ability to cast. I have that as well as smart double tap. I think it's really important to targeting yourself or your opponents with your abilities. I don't use this unless it's on specific heroes. It's really nice on like Enigma to make sure you don't cancel your black hole, but certain heroes it's like super buggy. Like Puck, you have to push S to come out of phase shift, which sucks. So I don't like this in general. I have it default off, but if I'm picking a specific hero like Enigma or Witch Doctor, I will put it back on for that specific game. I don't use this. I don't think it's a good setting. I think I don't use right-clicking for attacking at all. I've talked about this in the past, but I don't right-click for attacking. BSJ, why not? Because I compartmentalize everything I do. If I right-click for movement and A-click to attack, it separates the two actions. And if you misclick while trying to attack something with right-click, you're going to walk your hero out of position. That's just how it is. So I never right-click to attack things. I only A-click to attack while right-clicking to move. And I think this ability, or this setting, goes against that mentality. I'd like to dedicate quick move to literally me. I made a post on Reddit, or I made a clip that made it onto Reddit that after they added quick attack, that they should add quick move, and then they literally added it the next day. So if you guys want to know BSJ's impact on the Dota 2 game hotkey settings, this right here is all me. I know you could find it somewhere if you went back into the archives. So what these settings do, quick attack, it's the same as quick cast. So what quick cast does, I guess I should probably explain. So what quick cast does is, say I'm anti-mage. Normally, if I don't have quick cast on, I have to push W and then click. So like if this is normal, I have to push W and then find an area to click.
Prepare for battle.
So if we put free spells on, it's like W click, W click. But if you use quick cast, then you just have to push W. W, 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 W. No clicking involved. So a lot of things, it's just strictly better. You're pushing one key instead of two. That's it. If you have quick attack on, then instead of having to A click, I can just push A. And whatever my cursor's on, it will attack. Notice how I'm not clicking at all. If I don't have quick attack on, then I have to do A click, A click, A click. Once you get used to this setting, I think it's way better. That's what I use. Don't look at that anti-mage when you're... Yikes. I've actually been winning a lot recently with anti-mage. Okay. Okay. So that's those settings. Here, I use both of those. Quick move's the same thing, but when you move command following somebody, so you don't have to move command and then click them, you can just move command on top of them. Yeah, these are just the settings I like to have. I like extra large mini-map. I like using alt to show heroes because by default I can see what direction people are facing. If I really want to know who it is, I can push alt. So I don't have this. I like the old map. I think this is. I think this is fine if you want to. If you're more used to this, I think this is. I think these things are all personal preference. I don't think any of these are specifically better than anything you guys would want. Not gonna worry too much about these settings. Whoopsie. So I have same as hero. So this works with toggle auto attack. So if my hero starts on standard and I toggle it to always, these will follow suit. So that's why I use this. Disable auto attack when stop is held. This allows you to hold S. Toggle auto attack automatically. Quick cast on key downs, my default. I think all of these, the only one that comes into play that I would really recommend is auto repeat, which allows you to hold down right click without having to click it again. I think that's really important on average. And then smart attack move. So when issuing an attack move, the selected unit will target the enemy nearest to the cursor instead of the enemy nearest to the target location. It really says everything you need to know about it. If you don't click a specific unit, your hero will attack what's right next to it. If you select this, it'll attack what's closest to your cursor. So I personally think if you're trying to attack something, your cursor is almost always going to be right on that unit. Maybe you just misclicked. So what smart attack move is your hero will try to attack whatever you're closest to. It gives you a lot more wiggle room for small misclicks in the lane. I personally like this setting a lot, but once again, I think it comes down to personal preference. If you haven't enabled the console, you should definitely do that. There's a lot of useful commands that I've used in my videos. Yeah, and I think that's really it. So this is my overall hotkey option setup. Hope you guys learned a little bit from it. Maybe you can use some of it for yourself. Maybe you can say, what the fuck, BSJ? Why is that so complicated? You could just do this and say, oh, okay, well, that's better. Maybe that helped out in that regards too. So I want to say to you guys that a lot of that may be overwhelming. I hinted on what I'm about to say kind of during the video, but I want to say to you guys that all of my hotkey setup is not going to be perfect for any of you guys. And also, almost all of it, all these unique things where you're like, what the fuck, or how did he come to that conclusion, or like, wow, how did I not know that? I only know these things, or I only came to this conclusion because of thousands of games of Dota where I ran into random issues where I'm like, I could optimize this somehow, and it was either based on something I could either not undo, so I had to like do some weird workaround, which is like in this case because I changed my alt to F, so I can't like I can't push F and T at the same time. That example, or like some random thing that I had to like new ability. So like I realized it was really hard for me to pounce on Slark through trees. So then I had to add a directional move hotkey. You know, that's like an example of what I mean. So I'm just telling you guys, a lot of this was trial and error. Don't fret too much. If you're gonna try new hotkeys or a new setup, I highly recommend doing it one at a time. Otherwise, you're just gonna shit your pants, kind of like I do every time I try to change a hotkey. So my important thing is if you're getting used to one or two new hotkeys at a time, you'll slowly but surely learn. I think the ones like glyph and scan are really useful. All these like extra little hotkeys that not a lot of people use. There's a lot of stuff in Dota that people manually click that you could hotkey, but at the same time, if you hotkey everything and you go from 0 to like everything being hotkeyed, you're literally going to push nothing, which is strictly worse than manually clicking it. So with that in mind, just know, guys, don't be too hard on yourselves, don't overwhelm yourself, and just know that this was acquired over thousands of games. So with directional move, you're pressing 2 keys and a mouse click. Yes. So as a quick follow-up, maybe the editor, you can throw this in the middle of the video. I don't really care. I think it's good to make sure people see this. So I want to talk about some quick shortcuts that a lot of people may not be aware of. So a hotkey I do emphasize is having a shop hotkey. So I open my shop. You should always have items put in your quick buy for whatever you want to buy. That is achieved by shift clicking. If you want to have multiple items queued up, say you're in the laning phase and you want to buy like the remaining components of a Wraith Band and a stick, you do this shift click and then control shift click the next item. And you can queue up as many items as you want. And then the only way to reset that is just by shift-clicking a new item, right? And then it always appears down here, so you can always drag it if you want, but I think that's like the noob way. You should just shift-click, 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 shift-click. So you should never be manually dragging anymore. That's something that should never be happening anymore. What else? Oh, for leveling, you can use control. I don't know how many people aren't aware of this, but if I want to level my 3rd spell, I can just push Control-E, Control-Q. So I think you should use control for everything. I personally believe that anything you can not have to click or move your mouse for is the ideal way to hotkey. So notice how I have, shift clicking, I have control clicking. Like if I level up, I do this. I personally, the only thing I manually click in the entire game of Dota that could be hotkeyed is talents. That's the only thing I manually click. And that's because if I were to select talents with you, and accidentally click 1 to select my hero, or 2 to select my courier, I accidentally just selected the wrong talent. So and as far as I know, there's no way to rehotkey how to select talents. There's no way to rehotkey these between 1 and 2. So as of right now, I suggest manually clicking talents. I just do this. That's something you do 4 times a game, and not only that, you can't undo it. Unlike a missed skill, maybe you're a bit inefficient because you don't have your maxed out skill until 1 level later or whatever. But with your talents, that's going to backfire until you're level 30. So pretty significant backfiring there, and I will elect to manually click that. When you're swapping items for putting them in your backpack, like when you're bottling and stuff, something I used to never do, just in case people don't think about this themselves, probably a lot of you already do this, is if you're bottling and you want to put items in your backpack, so say we have, just a bunch of items we want to put in our backpack, you should put one in and then swap it like this. And then as you're bottling, you can put them back in place. But what this does is it just, obviously there's no cooldown now because I'm in demo mode. It just makes it so your items get swapped out quicker. Instead of doing like this, it requires 1 less motion to do this. So it's technically faster to do it that way. Oh, when you have a quick buy, if you're buying something, it'll, oops. If I do this, if I use my purchase quick buy option, it'll just go in order of the most expensive, or the first thing that I can afford. So if I only had 400 gold and I push down, I would buy the Ring of Regen. So something to keep in mind is the times where you do have to manually click. is when you're like buying a Battle Fury, and you have your courier at the secret shop. Battle Fury. And you have your courier at the secret shop, for instance. And I want the Ring of Health. But since Ring of Health is not the most expensive item, I'll be able to afford this and this at the same time. So in this case, I would have to manually click, because if I ever click down, I'll always buy the first one. Those are examples where you'll have to manually click. Yes. When you're delivering items from your courier, it delivers it in order from 9. So let's take the slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It delivers it in reverse order. So if you have an item in the 9th slot, it'll go all the way first until 1. Forward. So say I have 1 slot available, and I'm delivering myself a wand and a clarity. Oops, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. I'm delivering myself a wand and a clarity from the courier. And I want the wand in my inventory, but the clarity in my backpack. I have to swap them, because this is 2 and this is 1. And it'll deliver in that order. Notice how if I do it the reverse, where this is on the 2nd slot, it'll deliver my clarity in my inventory. So you can absolutely manipulate which item goes in your inventory based on the slot. Recipes are not considered in this. So, like, if you have a Manta recipe, it will be prioritized last. So, just to give an example of this, clarity. And so Manta is, like, farther down, so it technically should go into my inventory. Oops. But it won't. See?
My bow is
so recipes are considered last priority no matter what. If you have a toggleable spell, perfect, I'm playing Drow. This works with Drow, OD, Viper, yeah, any orb for the most part. You can use Alt plus that skill to toggle it. So, to auto-casting it. So notice how it's auto-casted, not auto-casted, auto-casted, not auto-casted. So yeah, you can use Alt to do that. So rather than having to manually, you know, right-click it, you can just Alt. How do you get FPS and ping to display? You go to Options.
Find your target.
And you go to display network information. Just so people know, you don't have to take your level 10 talent before you take your level 15 talent. So you could be level 15, you could be a hero with a really shit level 10 talent. And let's just level up to 15 so you see what I mean. It only applies to 10 and 15 talents, but I can have all these skills. Say like my skill build looks like this. I haven't leveled any talents yet. I can just do this. And I skipped my level 10 talent until level 16.
My sentiments as well.
A lot of people I don't think know that, but yeah, you don't need to level you do not need to level your 10 talent before you level your 15. There's just level 10 talents in the game that aren't super useful super early on. Like Ursa's Fury Swipe talent at level 10 is an example. If you want to hotkey a control group, so I've talked about microing, but for the real noobs out there, if you have a Manta and you select the units, and you say your hotkey for selecting them is V, you just push Control V, and then from now on, V will be my Manta Illusion hotkey. But if I did like Control C, then C would be my Manta Illusion hotkey. Now I have Z and V for my Manta Illusions. I have Taunt and Chat Wheel hotkeys. I just use 6 for Taunt, and I use 7 and 8 for Chat Wheels. You cast or quick cast Burrow Strike. It is a single target spell, so I quick cast it. How do you follow heroes? You have a move command. For me, it's Alt-S. So if you have an enemy and I want to follow them, I just Alt-S on top of them. And because it's quick move, I don't have to manually click. And I'll follow them. Alt-S. There's a move option in the hotkeys. Move. This is or follow a unit. Move is mainly useful with Jug Spin or Lycan Wolves when they're invis following a unit around. Pretty much the main uses of move command. Oh yes, if I want to add multiple units to a hotkey control group, so say I already had Manta Illusions in there, and I also wanted to add Necrobook to the same hotkey group, I can select these Necrobooks and Control Shift V, and now V will select all of them. Like if I were to just Control V these, then now V only selects my Necrobook minions, and vice versa if I wanted to use Manta. So like now if I do this, now Control V, now V only selects my Manta Illusions. If I do this, Control Shift V, suddenly it selects all of them again. For control groups, they save between game to game. So if you do it once, it'll save. Like notice how I left demo, go back to demo. Manta will still be on V, because that's what I set it as.
So be it.
Control for Terrorblade Illusions, I literally have a video educational guide on Terrorblade on my YouTube, specifically Terrorblade. So how do you follow the real PL? The best way to learn how to deal with niche situations on heroes like PL is to play PL. The only reason I know how to find the real PL most of the time is because I've played 300 games of PL. You don't necessarily need to play 300 games, but you'll learn how to follow the right PL if you just play PL. When it comes to pump faking, I just AS on attacks. AS, oops.
Arrow, find your target.
I was using pump faking a lot last game I was playing. Pump faking is a pretty important skill. I just toggle between AS at all points. This is why I think quick attack is so important. I don't think this is really possible without quick attack. At least not nearly as efficiently. I don't use hold at all, guys. I think the only reason hold comes into play is if you have different auto attack settings. This, or it's like this plus like this. These are like the settings that make hold matter, as far as I know. I've literally never used hold, ever. So, it basically allows there to be like a different degree of stopping. My team communication hotkey is my tilde slash whatever that is, the thing next to the 1. That's what I use for team communication. Is there a quick way to split up your illusions and stuff? You can use tab to go through illusions. So if I want to select one unit at a time, I tab. That's the default hotkey. You can use something else. That's this hotkey right here. So, thanks for watching, guys. That's all I got for the Hotkeys video. And, yeah. Like, subscribe, kiss me. Or, no, don't do that. Don't do that.